Okay, he said it's a squeaker, but I think it'll go. A 5-bass limit for Skip Johnson, the Michigan Pro. I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna need every ounce of him. 5. You're looking for 22.14. Your limit worth 24 pounds even. You the millionaire Skip Johnson. Get it done on day 4 if he does. Here we go. 5 today for Tom Reigns, worth 18 pounds even. Your champion is Skip Johnson of Michigan. Wow.
Stop number 6, your Kentucky Lake champion, Skip Johnson out of Michigan.
On behalf of Walmart, all of my associates, in the great city of Paris, Tennessee, congratulations on your tournament win.
$100 grand, first place prize for Skip Johnson, his first top 10, and he walks away in first place. That's awesome. Adam Steele, again, going to give you the trophy, the hardware, man. That's what you show off. Saying I finished number 1 on top. Kentucky Lake is a man's lake, and he came out on top. Look at that.
Skip, congratulations. What an awesome finish today. Awesome week for you. Tell us a little bit about Skip Johnson. You're a rookie on tour. Give us just a quick background about your fishing past.
Well, my fishing past all starts from my dad. He's not here. It's hard to talk about, but he brought me into bass fishing when I was 2 years old. Been fishing bass tournaments with him since I was 2 years old. And you know, that's where it really started out in San Diego, fishing out of the San Diego Bassmasters as a family team member, you know, because I wasn't even old enough to be an official member, so I fished family tournaments, and that's where it began. And, you know, I fished out there for a long time, and then I got away from the freshwater for a little while for tournaments. I started tournament saltwater fishing for marlin and tuna. I had a 6-pack boat out there, and that was really fun. And then on the weekends, I'd go fish bass for a little relaxation, so I didn't have to bait hooks for customers and all that. Not that I mind that, but you need a break from work once in a while. So I go bass fish the local lakes, and they're loaded with 10 to 15 pound bass. So it just worked on from there. And then I moved to Michigan 10 years ago, and it was partially a calculated move. Part of my decision making was to get back into the pro level. They only really had team tournaments out in California for the most part back then. So I moved to Michigan so that I could go pro with it. I got held up a few years because of the recession, but it was all part of the plan, and started out, you know, I couldn't jump right into the tour like we'd planned when we sold the house out in California, but fished a lot of the local lakes, and I got to where I was kind of getting run out of the local stuff. So, you know, it wasn't so welcome when you win 10 tournaments a year or whatever on their local water and you haven't even lived there before. So it just kind of spiraled from there. I had people literally tell me, you need to get out of here and go pros, and here I am today. So.
Sounds cool. I got to tell you, one day I pulled up on you. I couldn't believe this. I saw you throwing keepers back, and I just assumed you had a limit. And I said, you got 5? And you're like, no, I've only got 3. And I said, what are you doing throwing keepers back? You were that, you didn't want to mess with those keepers.
My hands hurt. I don't want to take any more fish out of the live well that I don't have to mess with. Yeah, I was throwing back 3-pounders, 2 3/4 pound fish. You saw them. I mean, they were good fish, and I just knew what I had. It was something special, and I just knew. And it was one of those ones where I was a do or die, and I knew I could win the tournament on it. And I didn't feel like sticking a cold tag in a fish and having my head in a live well when I could be fishing.
Yeah, the other thing I found interesting, you said you found that spot several years ago in another event, and then came straight to it and saw it had a bunch of fish on. And then you kind of guard dogged that thing. You knew it was the winning spot, and you kept your eye on. You basically sacrificed your practice. Instead of looking around, you guarded that, and it worked.
It did, yeah. I banked on one spot, you know, and I told my wife, and she told me I was nuts. And, you know, hey, you know, when you find something like that, and it had 2 ends to it, where there was fish on one end and fish on the other and fish in between, and I caught a couple 6s and 7s in practice, and then I went in there and just sat up by the trees and made some phone calls, ate some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and drank water. And whenever a boat would come close, I'd kind of idle back out and graph around, learn the spot a little bit more, and just kind of nudge people away if I could persuade them to do so, you know, and just kind of act like, oh, I'm already here. And it just kind of was real nice, mellow week. And I just had a real nice, calm practice because of that spot, finding it so early. But when I did find that spot back in 2007, it was only good for about 16 pounds. So I'm a little surprised by what I found there this week. I can be honest with you about that.
Tell me a little bit about the creek channel and the key baits.
Well, what it is a creek channel that comes off the shore and makes a couple real hard bends, and then there's a couple oxbows in it where there's like 2 or 3 channels with some humps in between, and they sat on the side of those humps. So I was ledge fishing, but at the ledges of a creek channel that dropped into the ledges.
How deep?
The fish were in about 11 to 13 foot, but on top it was 10 foot, on the bottom it was about 14 foot. So.
And the first day you rode over them, you did see them on down scan.
Oh, I saw them. Yeah, I mean they weren't on the down scan and the side scan quite as much as you'd expect them to be for as many fish were there. But if I slowed down and I cupped my hands over that unit, I could see little pepper flakes off the sides on the side scan, and I was like, yeah, those are bass. And I turned around and picked them up. Went, yeah, and then I'd scanned them over on the other side and fished them. And
I asked you about whether it was the bait was key, or the baits you were using, or the area. You said it was more about the area. Pretty much a lot of different baits will work, but it was about the efficiency of going to that worm with the slip sinker so you didn't lose as many on the jig, correct?
That was it, because I had the winning fish every day, and I should have been the lead every single day at this tournament, and I wasn't, and I was just throwing hooks like crazy. And then today I just really changed it up, and it just was the difference. I should have been doing that all along, but when you're stroking a jig, you can get bit so much faster than crawling a worm that sometimes you're like ADD. Your attention span just gets too short. It's hot, it's raining, I want to get bit. You grab that jig and you get bit first cast after the last 20 casts of nothing, and you grab that jig and throw off a 6-pounder in a tournament, and you go, oh good Lord, I probably could have got that to bite a worm if I'd have slowed down. So.
The jig, you were doing the chartreuse on the tips?
I was, yeah. I was tipping the claws of my trailer with chartreuse on there.
And then the worm that finished the deal for you, give me the name of it again.
That is a Western Plastics, and I believe this was a crawdad color right there, and that's the key.
It's kind of an ugly color.
I don't think so.
Not for $125,000?
That is sexy.
Jason, man, wow, it's been a battle of the rookies here this week, not only in terms of this tournament, but Rookie of the Year, you won finally. Congratulations. And this came down to you and Skip Johnson, and I know you had this planned out for a win to take everything home at one time, and Skip kind of put the dagger in the heart right there.
Well, it's kind of a hard pill to swallow sometimes, but you go out on the last day and you catch the biggest stringer that you've caught all week. I mean, really all you can do. And I said it on the camera today. And I mean, when I caught that last fish at about 130, 145, I told my camera guy, I said, if somebody beats me today, they beat me. I didn't give it to them. So, you go out and you fish and you do the best you can do. And, if I'd have went out and caught 20 pounds or something and got beat, or 18 or 19 and kind of stumbled, then, hey, it's one thing. But I had a good day, had a great day. Didn't lose any fish today. Fished clean, made pretty good decisions, and weighed 23-pound bag and just got beat. So it is what it is.
It looked like your plan was you had a little shallow spot that you started on every day. That place was somewhat shallow, really shallow, and then it was down to more of the mega schools down the lake.
Well, I did have a little grassy spot. Just had a couple clumps of grass on it, and I probably burnt that thing up yesterday. I really needed a couple good fish, and I went in there yesterday afternoon when I probably shouldn't have and caught a couple of good ones. But, the lake was still really crowded with the local guys yesterday, and a lot of the deep stuff was sit on. And, the funny thing is, I caught 2 big ones this afternoon, and it was on a spot that 8 boats started on Thursday. And, the lake finally cleared out, and the fish actually got to school back up and get back together a little bit. And I actually hit that spot twice today and didn't catch them, and then pulled in there at 1 o'clock and we aired them out. But, the little shallow deal was just something I had to myself. It wasn't, I weighed probably 4 fish for the week there, but they were pretty good ones. And, and we just went back to the traditional Tennessee River ledge fishing and just, covered 30, 40 spots a day.
I know the lake cleared out because of the tournament, got cut down to the top 10. Also, may have got a break with the weather today. I'm just saying, probably kept a lot of just regular fishermen off the lake.
Well, the one thing about the Tennessee River, especially the Paris area, Pickwick, it didn't just keep fishermen off. It kept pleasure boats off too, so that helps a lot. But You know, I had actually that school I caught those fish on this afternoon. I don't know who the guys were, but if they see this, thank y'all. I came back in there at about 1 o'clock, and there was a local boat sitting on it. A couple guys pleasure fishing, and they flagged me in. And I pulled in, idled over it, seen them, turned around, and started catching them. And they flagged me in, and they sit and cheered for me for about 30 minutes while we caught them almost every cast. So, you know, all your weekend warriors aren't bad guys. I mean, there's a lot of really good guys out there, and everybody hears about weekend tournaments and stuff. But I mean, there's a lot of really good guys out there too. And thank you guys, whoever y'all were.
Rookie of the year. Let's talk about that for just a second. Future plans for Jason Lambert as a professional fisherman.
Well, I mean, you know, 2015 it will be here before we know it. And you know, I've been wanting to do this for a career for a long time, and you know, fortunately this year we've had a good enough year that hopefully we can come across some sponsor opportunities and save a little money and make a little more at the Forest Wood Cup too. So, you know, I'm looking forward to getting back out here. I mean, you know, now that this season's over, you know, there's a couple of goals I want to accomplish, and you know, of course, I want to win. Everybody wants to win, but you know, we're not going to let old Andy keep winning that Angler of the Year every year. Sometimes somebody's got to beat him, so why shouldn't it be me?